Hello and welcome to VNN Canada with me, Nivedna Prabhu. In today's episode, I'm joined in by Manpreet Kaur Joshi, who is joining us all the way from British Columbia. Thank you so much, Manpreet, for taking the time out and coming on our show.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.
Manpreet, of course, you are the director of SIA Immigration, and immigration is an integral part for Canada. Having said that, of course, we're going through a really difficult time across the globe with COVID 19, and immigration has, to an extent, also got affected. So, before we get into further questions, in a nutshell, how badly has immigration been affected by the pandemic?
Um, I would say it this way. Of course, immigration is an integral part of Canada,
Right.
and even in these tough times, I wouldn't say that immigration is totally shut down. Of course, immigration word in Canada is not only limited to the people coming out of the outside and entering through the borders or coming through the airplanes. We can't forget, this kind of and a good number of population that we have in Canada already on study permits, work permits.
Right.
They're also part of immigrants, and they are temporary immigrants for now and looking to get PR. So it is not stopped completely. People are extending their work permits, extending their study permits, still submitting express entry applications, and in fact, for some categories, like you can say Canadian Experience class, it is a good time because whoever today there is a draw. The cutoff score was 447.
Okay, so
And
there's a drop in that, so that's good news as well.
uh, from 474 to 447.
That's a
Uh,
big deal.
yes, yes. Well, it didn't happen directly from that number to this number, but
Right.
there was a gradual change. Last couple of draws were around 450s and 60s, and now it's
Okay.
to 440s. So it's a good news for those who were originally thinking that they had to take another route to meet the express entry score.
Right. So you did mention about the study permit. Definitely a large chunk of that is international students. I think a lot of that section of the community have spoken about. We, of course, have the CERB and the CESB, which has been announced by Prime Minister Trudeau. But somewhere down the line, it has somewhere not helped the international student community. But having said that, how bad is it for them at this point? What are your thoughts on the same?
Again, I don't know. I don't want to say that everything is negative in this situation. Of
Okay.
course, we're not in great times, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But again, at the same time, everybody has this a little bit of hope candle, going on for them. For an
Right.
example, students, they're applying CERB, they're applying CERB. If they've lost their job and if they're eligible for any other worker in Canada, same as with the temporary work permit holders.
Right.
Of course, for the students, there is a bit of a question for their jobs. They're now uncertain when all this will end. Will they be able to get their temporary jobs back or not?
Yeah.
So I think so far they're getting CERB. It is fine if they do not have a job, and if they have a job, the good news for them is they can now work full time.
Okay.
So if they're frontline workers, right? Because Mr. Prime Minister has introduced this new thing as well, that where they have lifted this bar of working only 20 hours a week.
Right.
Um, they can now work 40 hours a week, up to
So it's a
40
great
hours.
opportunity for those people, right? But in
Yes,
terms of
yes.
students, let's say in a scenario where students have probably who are just graduating, who've come in fall 2019, the job market in itself in Canada is quite tough. Let's be honest about that.
Yes,
Um,
that is definitely there.
so
I don't have much of positivity to say, but yes, they are facing
a
hardships.
huge
Yes.
challenge. Yeah. So how do you look at that? Is it going to be even more tough in your opinion? I mean, with your experience, how do you navigate the whole you're of course seeing various scenarios, the job market as well, and for students to get integrated, because at the end of the day employers really value Canadian experience.
Yes.
So in such a scenario, what is your take on that?
Definitely. There I would say yes, that population, the students who came in Jan intake or who are coming now in May intake, they definitely got impacted job-wise. Because
Right.
when they come, they find the basic level jobs, which are like servers, bartenders, like very basics,
Right.
cleaners. Um, Looking at the restaurants shut down or going only drive-through, they are not hiring anybody.
Hiring anywhere. Yeah.
So, and most of the frontline jobs need experience or skills or training or specific those things.
Correct.
So that's why they are definitely facing challenge. But at the same time, they're getting their GICs. So that's why a government of Canada has this program in place that students, when they come to a new country, if they don't find a job suddenly, they have their GICs to support themselves. And we're hoping that all this will settle soon, and then we'll be back to normal, and then they'll be able to find their basic jobs.
Right. And speaking about that, there are students who have completed their graduation and they're on their 1 year post-graduation work permit. There is a little bit of a challenge there because let's say they've been employed and now they've been laid off, right? Temporarily they're laid off, and now they don't have the hours to qualify for CEC. How do you look at that? Do you think there's going to be some relief on that front?
Um, I'm really, really hoping that some relief will come up, specifically for students who are, um, uh, really, really laid off only because of COVID.
COVID.
Yes, yes. So I'm not sure how this will be identified, and it's a bit unclear at this point. Like, for an example, if we talk about provincial nominee program of British Columbia, they have already announced for the semi-skilled workers that if they were completing their 9 months with an employer, and now due to COVID they're laid off, so of course they cannot complete their consecutive 9 months.
9 months.
So when they say consecutive, there must not be any gap. Now, for an example, somebody completed 6 months and 3 are remaining. So in this case, there is a gap, right? Because now they're laid off and they'll complete their 3 months later on. So they have already announced this relief that it will be considered consecutive once they complete their 3 months after the layoff is over, as long as the layoff is no longer than 16 weeks.
But this is for semi-skilled workers, like you said.
Yeah, for BCPNP only.
BCPNP.
But again, and if this is coming up, it is just a signal that, be it a government of province or be it a federal government, they're not ignoring any set of population. They're not ignoring the needs. Of course, I wouldn't say that it was the first thing that government would bring into consideration when we are in these tough times, that what's going to happen to the work permits. But I'm pretty sure they'll not ignore it fully.
And they will come up
I have
with
this
something.
hope, I would say.
You have the hope. Okay, fantastic. So I think there's some hope for people who are also looking forward to that. What are the best ways to immigrate if not under the federal skilled worker stream? What would you suggest?
For now, whoever is overseas, that is where it is kind of paused. I wouldn't suggest that you should lodge an application or make a quick decision right now. This is not a decision-making time. For an example, somebody is scoring 470 and sitting in India, Dubai, Pakistan, or Brazil, anywhere in South, North America, anywhere,
right.
And looking to immigrate in the federal skilled worker. And right now they think that, they're not inviting federal skilled workers, so let's just change our plan. No, I wouldn't suggest that.
Okay.
Because it will change. It's not that they will never invite the federal skilled worker again. They will. And then there are other categories that they can explore if they do not meet the points, that are PNPs and investment programs, federal investments, provincial investments. So there are many other categories that they can explore.
But you're still saying that do not give up. I mean, it's right now, we clearly see that it's only PNP and CEC draws that are happening. But in due course of time, you believe that the FSW will take place.
Yes. It's not gonna be closing for forever. No. That's not possible. We'll be still needing, skilled workers. We'll be still needing, like for an example now, of course, we would face this challenge of not having enough frontline healthcare workers.
Yeah.
So this actually it will even clarify more on what front we need more workers, or on what kind of skills we should be putting up and saying, okay, these particular occupations or the workers having these particular skills like healthcare, IT. Of course, we're seeing a future.
We're talking about provincial nominee programs, and with your experience, how do you see that impacting the current or the future, community of immigrants? Considering Alberta also, please correct me if I'm wrong, Alberta nominee program did make changes to their program recently. So
Yes.
would you say that there's going to be positive changes, or they're going to narrow it down? Like, how do you see that with your work experience?
Yeah, so Alberta, in fact, BCPNP has also changed. They are not picking up the hotel managers, the restaurant managers, the retail managers, and many other occupations, the supervisors in these industries, and these front desk people. They're not picking up many of these. But again, I really feel this is temporary.
Okay.
Might be a bit longer than what we
Okay.
expect. It might not come back in a month or two. It might take few months to come back.
Yeah.
Normal, but obvious reasons, like a restaurant is shut down and only to the drive-through, and they cannot nominate a restaurant manager, or they don't want to do a draws because
Right.
they're unsure how the restaurant will be looking for more workers after all this will close.
Right.
So I'm thinking that it is very uncertain. And one positive thing that I see, that how this PNPs are changing, the Alberta PNP changed, BC PNP changed, but they're also launching at this kind of relief for the people who has applied into these categories. Like,
Right.
for example, we have applications that are in process. A restaurant manager is in process in British Columbia PNP.
Right.
And that they have said that if you're laid off, and you don't need to withdraw your application yet.
Okay.
As long as you can resume your job after 16 weeks, tell us, we will pause it for 16 weeks.
Okay.
So which clearly means that they're not shutting anything down.
Okay.
It means that they're giving them opportunity, and they have a hope that restaurant will open and they will rehire the manager, and then they can process the application. So same thing applies to the new applications. Then once the restaurant opens, of course, it will be needing new people and everything. And
But
I also,
so they are doing, sorry to cut you short. So they are doing everything possible within their capacity to ensure,
yes.
like you said, that everybody is covered.
Yes. Even government is trying best. Like, they understand that this is the times that are not very favorable from every angle, from economic, from immigration, for families, from emotional. So they're trying to cover each and everything, and which includes the immigration, including PNPs.
What is interesting is probably, at least even before the pandemic, one of the major criteria for having a PGWP was to be physically present in Canada to complete the course of study. So big relief for those students who still want to get Canadian education. But considering you wanted to talk about the positive aspect of it, could you tell our viewers what this means for them?
It is only for the students who has received their study permit before all this ended in March.
Okay.
If they were approved for a study permit, but they weren't able to travel to Canada, then yes, they can study online, but only for those. The ones who are in process, I'm pretty sure they'll process it only, when the traveling is allowed.
Right.
Yes. So right now,
this is for May intake and the fall 2020 intake?
For now, it was only for the May. Okay. Because for fall 2024, an example, countries like Italy, India, everything is shut down. Even if they get a passport request, they cannot travel to submit it.
Right.
Even the VFS is shut down.
Shut down. Right.
So new visas is a bit of a question for now.
Okay,
It's going to
but
be
there's
very,
somewhat. I mean, I think that's a great thing because you're still getting the experience, and they are eligible for the PGWP.
yes,
So,
yes. That is a good news
which
for
is
them who
fantastic. Yeah.
already were approved. Yes, yes.
In terms of the job market or the in terms of the future for immigrants and international students, if you were to wrap it up, how does it look in your opinion?
Um, it will be bit hard than before. Yes,
Okay.
I would say not very much difficult, but little harder.
Okay.
Especially for these kind of the leisure industries, I would say the tourism, resorts, hotels that are not necessities, service industry or healthcare or even a part of retail that are like the gas stations and stuff.
Right.
They're still running and they will be running. There won't be much change. But yes, the tourism and stuff, and then those industries will in turn impact the other ones, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So of course, but as long as most of the students having 3-year work permit will not face a huge difficulty. It
It's the
might be
one
a
with the
year
1 year.
later or before. Yes, yes. And I really don't like students who are graduating now, if they have done a only 1-year program,
Yeah.
just give it a second thought. You might want it to do a second year before you submit your work permit. Because
Okay.
once you get a work permit, there is no way to get it again.
So, what about the ones who are already on a work permit? Any pointers for them? Would you have any suggestions
Uh,
for those students?
my
Those work.
suggestion would be that if, now they can't change anything. Now they cannot go back to study and get the work permit again. So just keep finding a job, be optimistic, and try to look even out of the sector that they were already working in. Maybe there are
Okay.
less jobs in the sector that they were working, but the more jobs in the other sectors. And try to find out your points. You might be already eligible for the Canadian Experience class. Like for an example, when you complete 11 months, it's for you're already pretty much, the system might count it 12 months when
Oh,
you're like 11 months few days, because
right.
it only asks for your month and year. It doesn't ask for your date specifically when
Specifically.
you started. Yeah.
Okay.
So just try to find out your options, just try to stay active what's happening, and of course we're having this hope that we might get a relief of those few months that yeah.
And before I let you go, what are the top 3 points that you would like to give, let's say, immigrants who want to come to Canada and people here on a temporary visa, whether it's students or a temporary foreign workers? What is the message? Top 3 things that you would like to tell them, because this is a difficult time and they are also looking for answers. And immigration in itself has become so competitive today compared to,
Yes.
let's say, when it started. Like everybody around the globe is vying for that one spot. It's no
Yes.
less than getting into like an Ivy League college now. The pressure is as much as that. So
Yes, 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 and because of the U.S. immigration policies, a lot of IT professionals, they're now looking to explore their options to Canada, and it is a great opportunity for Canada also to hire these very very talented IT professionals. A lot of them come from India, so yeah, and I would wrap up saying that if you are overseas and looking to immigrate, do not be quick on changing your plans. If you were sticking to a category, just wait another 16 weeks before
okay,
you make any decision. I
right,
would say until December, in a very positive way. And if
okay,
you're in Canada, already finished just 1-year program, do not rush to get a work permit in this, uncertain times. We're unsure. So if you have an option, then study 1 more year so that you have 3-year work permit. And by the time things will settle, it's easy to find job.
okay,
Because I feel that this is also another set of population that has faced a very big challenge, the new graduates
of
who are
course,
finding a permanent job to either extend their spouse's work permit, because you need to have a permanent job, at least NOC level B, to extend your spouse's work permit, or
right,
either to get options for PR, PNPs, Canadian Experience classes, everything.
right,
So if you're a new graduate and you're unsure and you only did 1 year, do a second year. it will be worth, because otherwise you'll be into a tight situation. And I have seen my clients, they have a panic attacks. They wake up in the middle of the night. What's going to happen? Yeah, they only have few months left on the work permit and stuff like that. So to avoid all this, who are recent graduates from 1-year program, they still have an option to avoid it. Due to this uncertain time. And thirdly, who are already in the pools and who have completed their 1 year, but originally thinking that they might have to go PNP due to the higher score of express entry. There is this good news for them due to this pandemic. Well, I shouldn't say this, it's a bad way, but at least
you're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, for somebody. So we should be happy for everybody. So they need to reconsider calculating their score, contacting a professional or doing by themselves online and see if they're eligible now, because even if they're scoring in 440s, they should submit their profile because scores are coming drastically down.
So that's what you would suggest. So in with your professional experience, what you're saying is be a little patient. Things look like it's going to get better down the line.
Yes. Do not make big decisions in this situation. Like, do not make sudden move suddenly to Nova Scotia, to New Brunswick. So just even if you want to make a move, give yourself some time. If you do not have any time and you're running out of the work permit, then you need to definitely contact somebody, find solutions, and maybe and very, very importantly, keep your status legal. If you're running out of work permit, extend your status in some way or leave the country. If you're out of status and you cannot extend it anyway and you cannot take an airplane, you must keep contacting your country's high commission. And, keep the records with you, stating that you're trying your level best, or contact CBSA or somebody. Just be upfront and be honest. It will be good for all your future applications.
So you before I let you go, I'm sorry, just one last question. You mentioned about keeping your status legal if you are, let's say you're on a work permit. So what is an alternate solution? Because for PGWP holders, it's just a one-time thing. You can't pay. So how does that work?
So they can actually convert it into the visitor record. That is an option for everybody in Canada. That for now, in this time, not only for this time, it's always available, but of course they can explore it and at least they can get their status going as long as the work permit is not expired yet, or it is expired but not the 90 days crossed, which is their restoration period. Yeah, not just automatically assume because it's COVID-19 and tell them anything. They can still go to work, everything.
But they cannot work, right? I mean, that's obvious. Once you switch to the...
No, they can never work if their work permit is expired. No. That is just to keeping their status legal in Canada while they're here, waiting for a flight, contacting the High Commission, all the efforts they're doing to go back home, because some countries are not even accepting, they're sending their airplanes at only to get people at various intervals. So it's not that their status expired today and they can take a flight tomorry. So
So this would be a suggestion. So whatever you do it legally, do it the right way, and have patience. Like you said, be optimistic. There's some sort of light at the end of the tunnel. And we really appreciate you coming on the show and giving us all this valuable advice, because there are people out there who are panicking, like you said. So I think it is really reassuring that you, with your professional experience, have come on the show and given them some sort of guidance. So we really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here, and thank you so much for your time. It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you so much, Manpreet.
Thank you.